All right. So, Nicole, before I introduce you, let me just tee this up for the audience because I think it's interesting how we landed on this conversation today. And
Absolutely.
I was just telling you before we hit record, how much respect I have for you because here's what happened. For the audience, if you guys are watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on podcast, I posted a video, I don't know, maybe it was last week on YouTube.
It was eight
And
days ago.
it was 8 days ago, and it was a video of at the time it was a newer real estate agent who was making some cold calls, and I kind of walked you guys through that call and what I thought of the call and what I thought was maybe the reason why the prospect on that call was giving her so much resistance. And so I have that agent with us on the podcast today. So Nicole, thank you for being humble. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being transparent, and
Of course.
just willing to have this conversation. Truly welcome.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I've watched your videos all the time, and I was just sitting on the couch one day and watching that video and come across my own voice. I was like, oh my.
Yeah. So that call was a long time ago. You've been
It
doing this
was.
now for how long?
So I've actually been in the real estate industry for about 10 years now, but I've been a realtor for, I'm going on my fifth year, and I've been full time for the past 3 years.
That's awesome. So since that video, you've learned a lot. You've tried a lot of things, and like all of us, you probably have made a lot of mistakes. And so
Oh
what I
yeah.
thought, yeah, what I thought we'd do today is kind of break down um, maybe some of the struggles you had early on that I think a lot of newer agents will resonate with today. When it comes to, I think the hardest part for agents, which is how do I go out there and generate new opportunities? How do I acquire new clients? Because I think that's the issue. And that's my first question for you is I think a lot of people that get into this industry think it is something that it is not for many different
Right.
reasons. Maybe, they watch some TV shows, maybe they hear some people of being in real estate. What they don't realize until after they're in the business is, oh my gosh, no one's calling me. I have to go out there and find the business. I had no idea that I was going to get into this business where I have to go out there and find it. They don't even recognize that until after they're licensed. Did you have that same moment? And if so, why do you feel like that's such a, why do you think that is?
So I had that same moment right when I started real estate. So my first year that I started, I always liked social media. I always did social media for like a fitness thing where I was always doing content for that. Then obviously I got my real estate license and I switched it over to more real estate content. And so for me, I thought, if I just keep posting content, keep posting that, hey, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, everyone's just going to come and they're going to start working with me. I posted for 6 months straight. Not one person reached out to me because
Mm,
I mean, not for nothing, they didn't see any sales. They just thought I was just putting like value out there, which they probably didn't even know what I was talking about. So I just thought that things were just going to fall in my lap because one, I was a real estate paralegal before I got my real estate license. So I
mm.
had the connections prior. I just didn't have any of the actual clients to work with. So I just thought social media, that's what I know. I'm just going to keep posting and hope for the best. And I got nothing, absolutely nothing my first year. And then the second year, the only thing that I did was my own house. I was a realtor for my own house, and I was like, oh great, now I can use this as like a way to like try to generate more business. And I still just stuck with the content and I didn't really do much. I didn't have a CRM. I didn't have someone teach me on how to make cold calls. I didn't even know what withdrawn and expired listings are. I knew nothing. I didn't even know what a CRM was when I first started
Mm.
because I was with a very small brokerage that didn't teach me anything. So I had no idea in the beginning on what to even do. And then obviously time went on and I knew that I wanted to make this a full-time career. So I left the brokerage that I was with and I joined a new brokerage under a team who gave me all the resources and the tools. I had a CRM, I knew how to do follow-up, and I had a whole list of just leads coming through that I just started calling. And after probably it was like the beginning of my third year is when I actually started seeing generating some business from cold calls.
Got it. And we're going to break into all of that and what you're doing today and where you're finding success. And again, thank you for just the open, transparent conversation. It's like a breath of fresh air because it's what every new agent goes through. And so I want to stick on that for a second. First off, I guess, people get into real estate for many different reasons. What was it for you that attracted you to get into the industry in the first place?
Well, so I came from a different position because, like I said, I was in the real estate field. I was a
That's
paralegal, so
true.
I was behind the computer 24/7, working with realtors. I was at a desk 9 to 5, sometimes even longer. So I knew I wanted to connect with clients on a more personal level, and I wanted to be out there and help them because I would see how the client would feel at the closing table, and the realtor handed over the keys because I would conduct the closings. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I was like, I don't want to be behind. Nobody knew who the paralegal. No one knew me. So I'd walk in, I'd do the closing. No one knew who I was. And I was like, I don't want that. I want to actually be out there. I want to help buyers. I want to help sellers. And so that's when I decided to actually get my real estate license. And I will be honest, I thought that because I worked so much as a paralegal, I thought that, oh, when I got my real estate license, I'll have more freedom, I'll have more time and flexibility. And I quickly realized when I started getting busy, it was the complete opposite of that. And I feel like that's what a lot of people think when they get into this business, that their main idea is like, I want to be a realtor because I want to have all the time in the world. I want to have the flexibility to do what I want. But you realize shortly after, when you actually start generating business and working with people, that you really are on other people's time. You can control as much as you possibly can, but at the end of the day, you're still working on the time of the clients, not yours.
That's
And
right.
you're working a
Yeah.
lot more too.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that a ton too. So maybe a better question would be, how do you feel the industry, what do you think we need to do differently to maybe set better expectations with people that want to get into the industry? Because my belief is that we being people in the industry, or maybe it's the boards, maybe it's, I don't know exactly where it's coming from. I'm curious to get your opinion. I feel like we set new agents up to fail because they come in thinking it's this sexy, glamorous, easy, time freedom, all the reasons you just talked about. And they get in it and they're like, what did I just do? I had no idea. So I don't know if you've thought about that, but like, what do you think the industry should do to set better expectations with those that are getting into the business?
I think agents just need to be more transparent and show behind the scenes of what actually happens through a real estate transaction, or what happens through like behind the actual closing. Because I think, especially being someone that's on social media all the time, all we see is under contract, sold, under contract, sold, 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 sold. And then obviously at the end of the year, all the agents say, oh, I sold X amount of houses. I had this amount of volume. I made this in GCI. And obviously to anybody who's not in real estate, they're like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. Oh, wow. Like, I can do that. If she can do
It's a
that, I
great
can do
point.
that. And so people don't understand like what actually goes on behind the scenes of actually generating the business, closing the deals. Because like you said, we only see like the sexy part of it, which is the closings. And
That's
then you
right.
also have all of these other real estate shows like Selling Sunset and all that, which show the glamorous portion of real estate, which is not even anywhere near reality. But
No,
people don't know that when they're not in it. So I think that's the problem, is having more people and having more transparency out there. And that was one reason why I started posting my YouTube videos and being more transparent, because
I
people
love
don't
it.
see that. They don't see that part of it. So that's why I started doing that.
It's a great point. You bring up a really good point. It's like I'm sure you've seen this picture. Everyone has seen it. It's the success poster of the iceberg, where it says like, right, the little bit of the iceberg's poking out of the water. And that's like what people see, right? That's the
Right.
car or the lifestyle or the money someone's making, but they don't see the years of sacrifice, the years of pain, the years they put into their craft
Yep.
to generate the results that you're talking about. So you're spot on. The other thing I'm going to ask you about is, I think that when people consider getting into this business, I think to your point, they only think about it in terms of working with the actual buyer and seller versus all the time spent generating the opportunity. I believe, based on my experience, and I'm coaching, I've coached 6, 7, 8,000 agents now. The vast majority of our time is not client work. And that's what people do. That's why people want to get into the business. And had they known that they'd have to spend 80 to 98% of their time doing work that is not fun, that is very hard, that in order to get to the point where you can even work with the client, I think a lot of people wouldn't even get into this business. It's like this, and I'll get your opinion on it. It's like it's a great book. can't believe I'm going to forget the name of this book. It's a great book for entrepreneurs. The story is the woman the woman that's a great baker, and she makes great cookies. And so she says to herself, I'm going to open a cookie store naturally, right? Someone's good at making cookies. And she says, I had no idea that I'd spend a very little time making cookies to run my business and a whole bunch of my time, most of my time doing things I had no idea what I was doing, which is why I think most entrepreneurs fail. And it's the same thing here. That's the behind the scenes I think you're talking about. These people getting into the business have no idea that 80 to 90% of the job is actually doing things to get the client in the first place. Was that your experience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what I said in the beginning. Like I just thought the clients are going to fall in my lap. So that's why I kind of just sat back and just waited. And I was like, oh, obviously I'm a realtor now. All my friends and family, they're just going to reach out to me and I'm going to sell and help them buy. And that was not the case at all. And obviously, like most of my time is spent in the office making my phone calls, doing my follow up. And a lot of people, one, are afraid of the phone, and they don't feel like it, and they think
That's
it's just
right.
like, and that's the problem. They don't understand that there's a lot more that goes into actually getting that client. And that's the hardest part, because once you get under contract, I mean, sure, you have your negotiations and whatnot, but getting them under contract or getting the client is the hardest part. Once you're under contract, that's it. You're secure. You just got to negotiate your transaction out. That's easy.
You
That's the
nailed
easy
it.
part.
I'm so happy you said that. And I didn't even tee you up to say that. Like, you and I are so philosophically aligned. What you getting when you have the client is the easy part.
Right.
Anybody could do that. You know what I mean? Like, yes, okay, fine. You can make the argument, you do this and you do that. But getting the client is the part that's the hardest part. And so let's talk about that. Let's shift and talk about lead generation, or some people, whatever people want to call it. Let's call it lead generation.
Okay.
Here's the other issue. You said this at the beginning of the episode as well. Most people come into this business, they take a passive approach to their lead generation, whether that be social media or whatever you want to say. Social media works. You can generate opportunities, but I think that they underestimate the amount of effort it takes just to be an average agent. Like, they think that somehow they don't have to do anything that they don't like pick up the phone and call people, right? Go meet people in person. They think they can just sit back. And still to this day, Nicole, I still have agents that are telling me, Brandon, there's no way I am ever going to pick up a phone and call anybody. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do that. I did not get in this business to do that kind of work. And what do you say to these new agents that think they can just sit back and wait for business to come to them?
Honestly, they're just going to fail. You're not going to be a high producing agent if you're just sitting back waiting for the business to fall into your lap. And if that's, some people do it part-time, and that's what they want. But for the majority of the agents who have this as their sole income, you obviously need to put the hustle in behind it to make it work. And unfortunately, making phone calls isn't for everybody. I don't love making phone calls, but I
Right.
know what I got to do in order to get the business. If I don't make phone calls, I'm not making money. And if I'm not making money, I can't survive. So
Yeah.
it really comes down to, you gotta do the ugly. You have to make those phone calls, and it's not pretty at first. I mean, I was extremely nervous in the beginning picking up the phone, extremely nervous. But then I came to a mindset that I could literally talk to somebody on the phone, have a conversation with them. They can say whatever they want to me. And then I can go walk the street and walk by somebody, and it could have been that same person that just told me to F off. And they won't know it's me. So I'm like, they don't know who I am. So why
So
do I
true.
care? Why do I care what they say to me on the phone? So and also I think the other problem is that people don't like rejection. So if you don't like rejection, it's going to be very hard to survive in this business, because it comes with, I feel like, sometimes more rejection than it does come with acceptance.
Oh, that was beautiful. Say that one more time, just so the audience caught it. You think what? I'm going to steal that from you.
I said, I think that this job has a lot more rejection than it does with acceptance.
That's right. And most agents get in this business because they want their emotional needs met. And I shit you not, I believe this, that some of the people are more interested in looking successful than actually being successful.
100%. 100%.
Crazy.
And I see it all over social media too.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's a very, very small state. Okay. Somebody can post and show that they're extremely busy, but it's very easy for me to look up their numbers. Extremely easy being such a small state. Everybody knows everybody. And in Rhode Island here, there is more realtors than there are houses for sale. So that just
Wow.
shows you the majority of the people that are actually producing.
Yeah.
There's a
Crazy.
very small percentage of realtors that actually do business.
That's right. That's 100% accurate. Yep. It's a very small percentage of agents that do all the business.
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about the early days of lead generation, and some of the mistakes that you made that you've learned from over the last couple of years that maybe an agent that'd be watching this, Nicole, saying, man, I'm doing that same thing. I need to change that. So when it comes to lead generation, maybe it was who you were calling. Maybe it was how you were handling the conversation. Maybe it was there anything early on that you look back and say, wow, had I known that, I would have done that differently?
Well, we can take, the video that you
Sure.
talked about, that one specifically. And there was a lot of other calls on that video as well too. But, you said one thing that it was true, because when I was watching it, I realized that I was doing this, and I haven't watched that video in a long time. So I like forgot on like what I was doing in the past, but I was strictly, like you said, commission breath. I was just trying so hard with that sale that I wasn't listening to that person talk. I was just trying to get in there for an appointment, and I could care less about everything else he was saying. And that's not like you have. I built no value. I had no rapport with him. He had no idea who I was. And now, obviously, like I know that you have to have the conversation. You have to build that value, and that's how you're going to gain that trust from that person to stay on the phone with you. Because when you're just talking sales and pushing sales in someone's ear, they're gonna just, I'm surprised that guy never hung up on me, to be honest with you. He was a nice guy for not actually hanging up
That's
on me,
right.
because I
100%.
would have hung up on myself. Like listening to that, I'm like, Nicole, stop. Like, when is this gonna stop? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and
so true. And that's why I don't know if I said this in the message when we were messaging back and forth, but I was almost like, man, and I think I might have said it in the video, like it wasn't your fault. It's just all the BS that actually gets taught in this business too.
right.
Like, so you were just doing the best you could. That's why I said I give you a lot of credit. You were actually doing the work. You were picking up, you were trying, right? And so let me just ask you this, and then we'll get into what you're doing now. I put another poll on my Instagram. I don't know if you saw it 2 or 3 days ago, and I think this is part of the problem too. I said, I didn't ask people how you want your clients to see you. I said, realtors, how do you see yourself? Do you think that you are in a sales career? And a huge percentage of people, Nicole, are like, nope, I don't believe that this is a sales job. And I'm like, well, no wonder if you don't think you are in sales, no wonder you don't work on your skill. No wonder you don't work on your mindset. No wonder you don't work on your health, your fitness. No wonder you don't work to become the best version of yourself, because you don't think that you're in a business that it actually is, which is a business of
Right.
talking to people. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that some magical way that real estate sales is not a sales business?
No, 100. I mean, that's what we do. We do sales. That's what
I
it comes
know.
down. We're selling real estate. We're called salespeople.
Why do you think agents fight it on it? Look at your license. It says real estate salesperson's license.
Salesperson.
So
Exactly.
I don't know why these agents want to fight me on this. It's not my job to convince them of anything, but it's part of that too. Why do you think agents have such a hard time accepting that?
I think because they think that the consumer hates that word. So when you
Sure.
think about it, like even going to, a car dealership,
Yeah.
and you're talking to a salesperson, you think that a salesperson at the end of the day is trying to screw you,
Yeah.
because that salesperson is only thinking about their money that they're making at the end of that sale. They're not actually in it for your best interest, which, okay, maybe a dealership is, but real estate, I mean, we're talking large amounts of money that are different than an actual car dealership,
Yeah.
granted. But I do believe that, I mean, there's just a lot more that goes in. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into being a real estate salesperson that's not just sales.
Well, watch this. I should have posted this. This is what I say to people when they get this really confused, because you're right. They have a negative connotation towards what a salesperson is. Well, watch this. Let me share my screen. Look at what the word means. The word sell means to serve. That's what the word sell means, is to serve other people. Now, yes, have there been people in the past that have been, greedy, desperate, needy, bad sales. Of course, that's what gives this whole industry a bad rep, or
Right.
any salesperson for that matter. But I believe a great salesperson is one who serves other people. I believe a great salesperson is an honorable thing to do to serve other people. That's what I believe a salesperson is. So, yeah, I think it's people's understanding of what a great salesperson does. And the damn definition is to serve others. That's what
Right.
sell means. So it's interesting that so many of us in this industry don't understand what we're actually doing. It's just interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
100%. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, I get a little excited about that because it's just like, anyway. So let's talk about what's working now. Let's talk about all the things and all the mistakes you've made. Walk us through, like, okay, first off, what lead sources are you finding the most success with? Like, if you said, okay, here are my top 3 to 5 lead sources where you get all your business from, what would those be?
So my number one is withdrawn and expired listings. Those are typically where I spend most of my time prospecting. And then I just have my Google leads that come through, so just regular internet leads. And then another big pillar of my business is social media.
All right, so
So
let's go.
I
Can
would
we
say
break?
like my social media is in like SOI, people that already know me.
You're treating your social media now as essentially your past client sphere of influence marketing campaign, and
Right.
so makes a ton of sense. So let's break each one of those down. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. So with cancel withdrawn, what's your approach? Do you call them? Do you send them something? Do you knock on the door? Do you send them a private message on Instagram? Do you text them? Do you send video text? What is your approach? What are you finding that's really working?
So I first call them. Obviously, I'll send a phone call, make the phone call. If they don't answer, I'll leave them a voicemail. And then if I know it's them, I'll also send them a text message just saying that I just gave them a call. And then I also have a mailer that I'll send out. A lot of the times I'm focusing on areas where I have buyers that are actually looking for houses. So I can
It's
come
great.
from approach that I have a buyer already pre-approved buyer who is willing to spend top dollar in the specific neighborhood. So that's where I'll look for the most part for the withdrawn and expired listings. Not that I spend all my time on that, but that's where I'll focus on first. And then I'll just kind of branch off into the other areas. I do go door knocking. I just haven't specifically, even though Rhode a small state, I probably should, but I don't go door knock on those specific doors. I do go door knocking in specific areas, but they're not technically just withdrawn listings. And then it's just typically just following up if I don't get a response from that.
Cool. So I love it. Makes a ton of sense. I think it's super smart, right? It's like leveraging your buy clients
Mm-hmm.
to approach a seller, which is what sellers want. So how have you found success, Nicole, handling these conversations? Because let's just be upfront. I mean, the expired cancel conversation is probably the hardest one. You got a
They
lot of
are.
competition, right? So how have you found to handle that conversation where it leads to a good conversation? Maybe you're setting appointments, so you generate a lead. Like what is your approach?
So it really comes down to me just finding out if they know why that their house didn't sell, or was there a specific personal reason why you took your house off the market. And once I figure that out, I just ask them, okay, well, where were you interested in going? If you were to sell your house today, where were you looking? And I kind of just base it more on like what their dream was of what they wanted to do prior to their house coming off the market, and just make them kind of relive that again, where they were like, oh, I was looking to upsize and I grew a family, but the market's this, the market's that, so we just decided to stay. So we just talk about the dream. And then obviously that's when I start bringing them like, okay, well, if you were to get an offer at that price point that you were looking for, you have a ready and willing buyer, is that something you would be opposed to? And then it starts getting the wheels turning again for them to have that conversation about possibly reselling their house. And that's how I get into the door for them.
Love it. So smart. You're focused on the outcome. You're focused on their outcome, their reason for why they're doing it, because that's the emotional reason, right?
Right.
No one's interested in listing their house with an agent, right? They're doing it because they want to move to something bigger, smaller, relocate, et cetera, et cetera. So that's super smart. And I love the little no-oriented question that you put in there. Would you be opposed to it? So that's,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who you learned that from. That's a
I
good
wonder,
technique.
I wonder where I learned that
That's so
from.
good. Okay, so that makes sense. Of the appointments you set with expires and cancels, what are you getting more from the first call or more from your follow-up?
think it goes hand in hand. I would say personally, I do get more from the first call than the follow up.
Sure. That's great. I mean, obviously that's because your skills probably have gotten so good over the last 4 or 5 years of doing it that you're able to set that appointment on the first call. So
Yeah.
talk to me about, are you good on time if we keep going? Because I want to talk about a couple more things. You good with
Yeah,
that?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the appointment. This is another area that a lot of agents struggle, right? Because regardless of how you spend your time lead generating, it doesn't matter when you get on a listing appointment. That's where it all comes to fruition. That I think a lot of agents screw it up. So walk us through your approach to a listing appointment. What do you bring? What do you focus on? How do you present yourself in a way that sets you apart from other agents to win the business?
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on what type of listing appointment I'm going on. So if you're
Let's keep
talking
the expired
the
cancel for now.
expired or canceled, okay.
Yeah,
So it depends if I tell them that I have like a buyer for this. Usually my first approach is just getting myself into the door and just talking to them about their
sure.
home. And then obviously at that point, they're going to be looking at other properties that they want to, their dream, which was looking at what properties that they were interested in prior to. So a lot of the times if they tell me what they were looking for or what neighborhood they were looking for, I'll bring some listings of that of whatever they were looking for to be like, hey, I know you say you don't think there's that much on the market, but look what I found for you. And then we'll start looking at some of those properties. That's typically for a withdrawn listing. That's what I would bring, and then I'll leave to talk to them about. And then what I do is I also bring a folder with I have like a wholesaler's book as well as comps in the area to show them what their house value is, and we go over that. Sometimes I'll also do what I call as like a live CMA. So if I know for a fact that they are interested in reselling and putting their house back up on the market, sometimes I'll do a CMA with them right in front of me, and I'll go through the property so they can see the pictures, they can see how I'm actually pulling the comps to satisfy the price point that I'm giving them, other than just being like, here, this is what I did behind the scenes, look at it and let me know what you think. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit more appealing to a seller, especially if they are a little bit more curious on price point. If that's like their main focus, I'll do the live CMA with them.
That's great. So one of the things I do with agents that I coach is in addition to the list of properties that you're talking about, we will bring a list of off-market properties to show them, hey, the reason you invited me over is the same opportunity that you would have if we were to work together. So I don't know if you do that or not either, where you say, here are all the off-market properties that you don't see because they're not actively on the market that you'd have the opportunity to buy. So that you're doing that too?
Yep, I do that too, because I even say that to them on the phone too. It's like another point that I tell them, that especially in this market when there's not much on the market, inventory is extremely low. We all know that. I do bring up the points that I target off-market listings. And I also bring up the point that, like I called you, you're off market right now. That's what I'd be doing for you.
That's right. So smart. All right. The two big issues that we deal with at a listing appointment, the homeowner wanting to list it at a price that is higher than what you would recommend, and then them asking you to cut your commission. What is your belief, philosophy, approach on those two big issues? Let's talk about the price one first. So you have a seller who says, Nicole, listen, I get it. We like you. We want to hire you. They want to price it for way more than what you're suggesting. What is your belief, or how do you approach that?
So if I'm doing like the live CMA, that's one reason why I do sometimes a live CMA when it comes down to price point. I'll even show them some withdrawn and expired listings that didn't sell for the price point that they may want to sell for. And I just keep reiterating that my job is to sell your house. My job is to sell you for the top dollar. I have a strategy. I have a pricing strategy. And the reason why I have success in selling properties for at or over market value is because of the strategy that I do. And I have a track record for that. So it's hard to price a property. The buyers are only going to pay what they're willing to pay for a property, and obviously considering market value. So that's
great.
How I try to get them.
Yeah, I don't know if you've done this, but maybe this might help you. We teach the agents that I coach. We always teach them to communicate. I'm not selling you on the price of your house. I have to go and sell the buyer on the price of your house. And the seller says, wow, that's a good way to put it. Because rather than, I think a lot of listing agents that fight sellers on price, It's like, hey, we're actually it's not being productive because we don't, as a listing agent, we don't need to sell the seller on the price. We got to go sell the buyer and the buyer agents on the price. And so
Right.
when the seller can look at their house not as their firstborn child, right? It's like every single parent that thinks their kid's the most beautiful kid on the block. That's like
Of course.
homeowners. It's like, well, the other buyers aren't going to look at your kid and think it's the cutest kid in school, right? They're going to look at that as just the next ugly baby. And that's who we need to sell. And the sellers love it. They chuckle. They're like, oh, that's a really good point.
I like that. It's good.
So steal it. Okay. And then what about the commission piece? What's your belief on that? If they want you to do what you do and provide the level of service that you provide, and they want you to do it for less than what you typically charge, are you open to that? Are you not open to that? How do you handle that?
So it depends on the situation. If I'm open to it or not, I always try to stick to what I'm asking for because I'm always trying to build my value. Because I always tell them that if someone can negotiate me down in commission, how do you think I'm going to negotiate on your behalf when the buyer's trying to negotiate your price point down?
Beautiful. So it's the smartest way to handle it. I always ask sellers, Nicole, I say, is that a test? Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, if I demonstrate to you right now that I can't negotiate my own income, how likely is it that I can negotiate when you're not around? And they're like, that's a good point. I say, if I were to discount this, I would tell you not to hire me. I'd be demonstrating to you up front, I'm not a strong negotiator. Wouldn't you agree? And the seller's like, that's a really good point. And so all the other agents that are willing to drop their pants to get your listing, think about that. Is that the agent you want fighting for your equity when you're not even around to see them? Just imagine.
Right.
And they start to say, wow, that's a good. Anyway, so that's so good.
Yeah, and it puts a great point in their mind. And then honestly, I've had so much success with that because at that point, they're just like, what are they going to say? Oh,
what are they going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell them not, if I ever discount, don't hire me. I wouldn't hire me. I would never hire an agent who has to discount their fee in order to win your listing. They're going to do the same thing to your property when they hit the market. They're going to go out there and discount your house in order to get it sold. So anyway, love it. So talk to me about Google PPC. Are you doing Google PPC? Is that what you're doing?
Yes. So what the team we have Google PPC.
Oh, cool.
And then I also run ads in Google too.
So are you guys generating buyer keywords or seller keywords or a little both?
A little bit of both. So on my end, where I'm funding it, it's more seller, and then where the team, it's more buyer.
Are you guys doing that yourself, or do you hire a company to help you with the PPC management?
I believe the team has somebody that takes care of that.
Cool.
On my end of things, I take care of it myself.
You do your own PPC management?
So I do my own so for mine, I do my own, and then for the team, they do their. I don't really know how they do theirs, to be honest with you, but
good for you. So you go in the back end of Google and you're running your own ads and doing all that. Good for you. It's rare that I find an agent that does their own PPC management. Super rare. So that's awesome. We don't have to go that deep on that, but what are you seeing your cost per lead in Rhode Island? What do you typically pay for a lead in your market?
Honestly, I haven't only been doing it for probably a few months, so it's been very like up and down.
Yeah, so it'll even out over time. So we try to get our seller leads on Google PPC. We try to keep them under $25. So I'd be curious, maybe you and I could talk offline, and we found if we can keep them around $25 a lead, that we can be really profitable with it. We can get a huge ROI on it. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, your sphere of influence, past client presence on social media. It sounds like you're doing another smart tactical thing, which is you're treating your social media as essentially your database marketing system to stay top of mind, to provide value. People can see you. Walk us through your approach. What are you doing? Do you have a system that you follow, or is it super random?
So I wish I could say I have a system for it, but I really don't. I'm just really big with content creation. I love doing videos. I love being out there. I'm not afraid of the camera. So it really came down to just always figuring out what works as far as the algorithm to get out to the most amount of people as possible. Just posting reels, posting free, valuable content, and then also obviously posting my sales and whatnot, just to show that I'm actually still doing business. Yep. And I mean, like I said, Rhode Island's a very small state. So I have a lot of people from like high school and stuff that follow me. And so just keeping top of mind that, hey, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor. I've gotten a lot of people that would reach out to me from high school that I may have not even spoken to in high school, asking me for assistance on buying or selling. So it's just staying consistent and just always sticking with stories, and it's not, and I don't just do real estate stuff. So I also do a lot of my personal life too, so people can get to know me on a personal level, because I do feel like I connect with a lot of people that relate to me. And I think that's really because of my social media. I've had many people who use me specifically because they aligned with my lifestyle as a whole and not just who I am as a realtor. And they thought they would
100%.
connect with me and be comfortable and trust me with their real estate transaction.
You attract your tribe. Right? It's the best thing ever.
Absolutely.
You post
Yep.
content and then you attract your tribe. And the same thing happened to me. All these people that I grew up with and all these, it's like, wow, I haven't heard from her in a long time. She says, hey, me and my husband are looking to buy. And it's like, it's amazing. Why? Because just the content. That's the power of content marketing that I think a lot of agents don't really understand what they're doing, but it's super powerful.
I think a
So
lot of people are afraid of posting content and what other people are going to think of them when they post it, because that's how I was in the beginning, especially with even YouTube. I was like, I can't put myself out there like that. And I was very like, not self-conscious, but I'm like, oh, I don't want people to like talk about it. Like, I don't want people to like,
for
and,
sure.
and then you just get over it.
You do. It's just like anything else. The calls aren't hard anymore. The content's not hard anymore. And the thing I wrote down, Nicole, you can't see my notes, but I just said your confidence is so high, because you've put yourself in a position to be confident. Confidence comes through action. And I think so
Right.
many people are searching for confidence before they've ever done anything. It's like, well, of course you're not confident because you're not willing to do a video. You're not willing to
Right.
make the call. You're not willing to do the open house. And so you can't be confident before confidence comes through failure. And so I've always told everybody, the learning's in the doing. The more videos it's common sense, right? The more calls you make, the more videos you make, the more confidence you will be. And so
Right.
you can see that in you and how confident you are when you're sitting down with the seller. It's no mystery why sellers hire you, right? It makes a lot of
Right.
sense. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So last one for me. If you could rewind the clocks and get back into real estate sales 5 years ago and being who you are now, and you had the opportunity to talk to Nicole 5 years ago, what would you tell her?
I tell her not to be afraid to pick up the phones, make your phone calls. I would tell her, one, speak with, so my thing is that I was pushed into a brokerage. I never really got to actually kind of interview with other brokerages or other teams. So I think that's what kind of set me back a little bit, just because of the position that I was in prior to being a paralegal for an attorney's office. So I really do believe that you do need to find a team that is going to give you the resources, the guidance, the help, especially as a new agent, to help and set you up for success. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to figure it out on your own. And that's exactly what I did in the beginning. I was trying to figure out everything on my own. And that's why I was not successful for 2 years at all, until I found a place that helped me and guided me and gave me the resources that I need in order to do the business that I wanted to do. And it's only been uphill from there.
It's great. I say the same thing. I say most new agents just find yourself a great team for the first couple of years. It's just what you need. You need the environment, you need the structure, you need the support. To go try to do this thing on your own, it's like it's hard. It's really hard.
It's hard,
So
yeah. Especially like, I mean, for me, coming from a real estate background, I thought it would be easy for me. And even that, it wasn't. It was not at all. I thought I had the connections. I thought I knew what I was doing, but you really don't. It's just a whole different type of thing when you're actually in the field and trying to work and get those clients.
that's right. So I've got a page of notes. I just want to thank you so much. I mean, I can just only imagine the new agent sitting here watching this interview of you and I going back and forth, and how inspired you've made them feel, truly, like through just you being able to talk so openly and transparently about your 4 or 5 years of this business and the mistakes you've made. So I will thank you for them. And so I
Yeah, of
appreciate you
course.
jumping on and doing this.
Of course. I always like to be transparent. That was like my number one thing. I've always been somebody that I feel like that's how I inspire people, and that's how people can relate to me. Because I'm not going to come right out of the woodworks and be like, yeah, my first year I sold 20 transactions. On my
Yeah.
third year I sold fit. Like, it's not the reality of it sometimes. I mean, it could be, but sometimes it's not. And it's going to be discouraging for a new agent to watch like a new agent video of someone who is already killing it when they're not. So that's why I started posting my videos and started doing what I was doing. And that's when, they can see the success
Yeah.
throughout the years. And that can
So
give them motivation to stick with it.
that's
Sometimes
right.
people just they think that they're failing, and the problem is that they want that instant gratification, and that's sometimes not going to happen in this industry. And you just have to keep pushing through and keep learning, and success will come if you just stay consistent and hustle.
100%. Where can people follow you or connect with you? Is it your Instagram the best place?
Yep. So I have Instagram, and I also obviously my YouTube channel as well.
Okay. So I'll link those. I'll link you want me to link your business Instagram in the show notes?
Yeah, perfect. That'd be great.
And then you guys can see the type of content that she's posting, connect with Nicole. But again, thank you so much for hopping on with me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.